of the NBA on ESPN is underway.
Let's go!
Deep three. Tyler Hero. Oh, he hit it.
We have a liftoff.
Leonard to the press.
Welcome to Hoop Streams, presented by Hotels.com. You know the saying, the best two words in sports, and I'm definitely not talking about home court. It's Game 7 in Los Angeles in a series where home court has been a disadvantage. And we're getting you set for it all over the next 30 minutes live on Twitter, Facebook, YouTube, and the ESPN app. Hello, everybody. I'm Cassidy Hubbard, and I'm joining you from Washington, D.C. And we got Big Perk in Houston, who I see some. Where are you? Did you just coach a game? What's going on?
Look, I'm multitasking right now. I just coached my team up to go to the championship in the 5th grade level, and then I bought my equipment, set it up. I'm ready to rock for hoops. Let's get it.
What don't you do? What don't you do? And speaking of multi-talented, we got Ramona Shelburne joining us live from a sunny LA. It looks beautiful out there outside Staples Center.
Yeah, look, there's fans going in here. It's Game 7. It's a little early. I mean, I just got back from Dallas, Cassidy, and it's a quick turnaround for both teams. They had a little walkthrough. The Clippers had a little walkthrough right before the game, but there's not much time in between Game 6 and Game 7, which is going to be interesting because I've been at all these games. Not one home team has held serve. It's unbelievable. I've never covered a series like this. Let's see if today is the day.
We'll see. I mean, I'm sure there's a lot more mimosas going on is for the pregame for here. It's a brunch leading into this Game 7. Yeah. Not a lot of pre-gaming otherwise. So let's get right into it. I'm going to start with a new segment here on Hoop Streams. We're calling it "Give Me a Number." I'm going to go back and forth with you guys. All right. And I'm going to run through some numbers here. And the first number up is 8. The number of players remaining in the playoffs that have won a title, guys. And I said the playoffs. That's Durant, Kyrie, Danny Green, Dwight Howard, and JaVale McGee. 5 of them. The Clippers have the other 3. Kawhi, Ibaka, and Rondo. Perk, I'm going to you with this. How important will the championship experience be today?
It'll be very important. Coming from the leadership of Rondo, right? Kawhi, he leads by example. We saw him have one of his greatest performances in his playoff career, in my opinion, locking up Luka and dropping 45 on him in a must-win. But when you think about Kawhi, he's just a guy that's going to go out there and get the job done. Rondo's a guy that if he plays 10 minutes or 20 minutes, he's going to deliver on the court. But his leadership outside of basketball, outside the lines, is the most important. He's a coach beyond T2. He's the extended version of him. So his leadership and experience is going to be everything.
Momo, let's keep this moving. I'm going to go with 70. That's Kawhi's shooting percentage on the road in this series. Now, he's at 61% overall for this series. Yeah. We know Kawhi can step it up. And we saw that in Game 7, arguably his best playoff performance yet when he had 45. But Momo, who else needs to have a big game for the Clippers today?
Well, Paul George is the guy that everybody's going to point to, and I think he deserves a lot of credit because he was actually pretty good in that last game too. Okay, he had a rough start, but he comes back, and I think the pressure in terms of, we all talk about playoff P. He's faced a lot of criticism in his performances in the playoffs over the years, and I think that he has, even when he starts off a game poorly, he's kind of got it together and he's got going. That Game 6, he had a very rough shooting night early on and came back in the 4th quarter and gave him some big minutes. Kawhi, though, this is what's amazing about Kawhi's shooting percentage that you brought up, okay? That shooting percentage is incredible in and of itself for a guy who mostly shoots mid-range jumpers, right? He gets to the rim sometimes, but that's not like a center in there who's just dunking. But he was guarding Luka Doncic in Game 6. He got that defensive assignment, so he's expending all of that energy chasing around Luka Doncic. We had a stat from our incredible stats and information group. He was the final defender on Doncic 35 times. You know how many baskets Luka scored when Kawhi was the final defender? 2. That is an incredible defensive performance in a game where you also went for 45 on the other end.
Yeah, I mean, we saw a lot of blitzing of Luka. I'm going to be interested to see what kind of moves that the Mavericks put on Kawhi, given his offensive performance in last game. So let's also keep this moving with Luka and 31. That's Luka's shooting percentage in the fourth quarter of this series, Perk, where the Mavs have been outscored by the Clippers the last 6 games. So, Perk, what can the Mavs do to get Luka better shots in the fourth?
Well, it's hard. And, I mean, the only way that he could get better shots is probably playing off the ball. But Luka has to have the ball in his hands. We have to give credit to Ty Lue because what he's doing is if Kawhi's not on him, he's basically sending another person and saying someone else has to beat us. And I believe that someone else has to be Porzingis. But look, Luka has had a phenomenal series, but we got to remember that Kawhi Leonard is a 2-time Defensive Player of the Year, and he's showing that. And so what I see is that Luka is carrying this team in the first, second, and third quarter, and in the fourth quarter you see signs of fatigue because now them, Kawhi, PG, and Morris, all of those guys leaning on him and pressuring him is wearing them down. This is why others have to step up for him.
All right, I'm going to wrap this.
Watching Luka in those fourth quarters. Well, look, Luka's gotten tired in those fourth quarters, Perk. Like, the Clippers have basically said, we are going to bet that you cannot carry this load for the entire 4 quarters. And in the first 6 games, they've been right. Okay, even after Game 5, when the Mavs won Game 5 here just a couple of days ago, Luka's had all those shots, and he said, actually, I think it was a little too much. I think it was a bit too much, and I saw him take extra rest in Game 6. You don't have time to take extra rest in Game 7. This is Game 7. You have to be out there all night, and the big question is, will Luka have enough energy in that fourth quarter if he's been carrying the Mavs all game?
Hey, Cassidy, Ramona, y'all remember when Shaq said you could bang with me for the first quarter, you could bang with me for the second quarter and third quarter, but where you going to be at in the fourth quarter when it matters the most?
That's
and
right.
That's what we see at Luka right now.
Yeah, and it's do or die. So, lay it all out there. Last number I have for you guys is 51. That's how many points Dallas beat the Clippers by on December 27th, 2020, which happens to be the last time the Clippers hosted the Mavs for a 12:30 p.m. local game. We keep talking about, are they going to be ready? And you just pointed out earlier, Ramona, this is an early game. This is an early Sunday Game 7. So with all of that and everything we've talked about so far, Perk, I'm going to you first. Who do you got today?
You know what? Hey, this is the first time that I would not have a prediction. TBD, to be determined. I'm not going either way because, look, but the simple fact is, when you have a 12:30 game in a quick turnaround like this, it's set up. So you don't know what kind of energy you're going to get from either organization, either team. So to me, I think that it's going to be lopsided by whoever comes out there and strike the first punch. So I don't know who's going to have the fresher legs. I mean, Kawhi Leonard played 40-plus minutes and had to do a lot in Game 6. Paul George, he played 46 minutes, didn't come out in the second half. So I'm looking at it right now, and in my mind, I want to go with the Clippers, but I'm going to say TBD, to be determined. I'm not in this.
Okay, I'm not.
I don't know if I can let that slide, but okay.
No, you know what? Guess what, Perk? You have to pick somebody. You have never been afraid of a hot take. So I'm gonna steal one of your lines. I'm gonna steal one of your lines. Okay. Game 7 at home. I think Luka's ready to become the face of the league, but I am not gonna bet against Kawhi Leonard. He has been here so many times. Home team. I'll take the Clippers today just because of that guy KL, the Claw, who's amazing in Game 6. I'll go with him, and I'm gonna steal your line, Perk, because you left that out there for me. Carry on.
Hey, you know what? Y'all not going to do this. I tell you what, I'm going with the Clippers tonight, too. I'm going with the Clippers
there you
as well.
go.
I think this is the stage that's set for Kawhi Leonard. Ain't that conversation with LeBron James and Durant. The Lakers are gone, and now it's his opportunity to close out this gap and continue to move forward in the way to come. I'm going with the Clippers in 7.
See, all I had to do was pressure him a little, Cass. All I had to do.
And I hate to do this. I hope Dallas fans, I hope Dallas fans don't come for us, but I'm going with the Clippers too. I think robot mode has been activated with Kawhi, and I think he's trying to reestablish himself as a top 3 player in this league. And I think he gave us a little sprinkle of that in Game 6. I think it's going to carry over to this Game 7. So we will see. We're about 20 minutes away from tip-off. So we will see. Ramona, I know you got to get in Staples Center, so we thank you so much for joining us.
You got it.
You do have some time to get a little more rays out there, maybe a mimosa yourself because
I'm not worried.
Enjoy yourself. Thank you so much for taking the time,
Thanks,
Momo.
guys.
And Ramon,
You got it, guys. Yeah.
I think
Silly
Carry on.
Carry on. And that's what we're doing here is we're leading you right to the start here on Hoop Streams for Game 7. Mavericks Clippers coming up 3:30 Eastern on ABC. It's the final game of a first round that has really been full of memorable moments.
I mean, I've been working my whole life for this moment. You know what I'm saying? So it wasn't time to shy away from it.
Middleton, 5 seconds left in overtime. Middleton with 2. Middleton, you bet! He got it!
It is a flagrant penalty 1 on Morris. For launching his body into the defender and also making extensive contact.
Here is Young, finds his spot. Young on the floater, puts it in! Trae Young with a miraculous shot.
Tatum, little stutter step, crossover, step back, three-pointer, puts it in. Jason Tatum on fire.
Telling him to get out of his way. Lillard on a 3. He hits. Damian Lillard, the late game assassin, strikes again.
Got the screen, long three, bullseye. Big shot by Booker. 43 for Devin.
We got our ass kicked. It's just that simple. I mean, they pretty much just kicked our ass. I mean, there's nothing else really to say.
Leonard. Pull-up jumper. It's good. Kawhi Leonard with 39. And that's it. And appropriately, we'll have a classic Game 7 on Sunday in L.A.
Man, I mean, it's been a memorable first round. We're still not done yet, even though second round has already started. But Perk, tons of standout performances. There's always this issue that the playoffs, you don't get the same end of year award treatment. So, we wanted to put together a all first round team. So let me know your list. Who is your top 5 all first round team?
Well, first of all, you got to throw Jokic in there, okay? The way that he dominated that Portland series, I had Portland picked to win. He showed me different without having Murray. Then adding Kevin Durant to that list. The guy's leading the league in points per game in the playoffs. I'm going with Ice Trae. The man has ice running all through his veins. I don't know if his heart is still beating. And then I'm rolling with Donovan. I don't know if I'm rolling with Donovan Mitchell. I know I'm in backwards orders, but you get what I'm saying, Cassidy. I'm rolling with Mitchell. Donovan Mitchell came back, and they gentlemen swept the Memphis Grizzlies, and he played tremendously. So I'm looking at these 5 guys, and Jokic, and Luka, and Ice Trae, and KD, and Mitchell. And what they're doing right now, they're doing it at an extremely high level, and they're carrying their teams in great fashion.
I have just one issue with your all first round team. I don't want to take away from Donovan Mitchell, but I just don't think he deserves to be on that list. He played 4 games. I am in between right now having Devin Booker or Kawhi Leonard. I think to me it's going to be either Luka or Kawhi depending on who wins. And I also have an issue with myself not being able to include Damian Lillard, but I think my strategy here, my philosophy with this all first round teams, I can't include Damian Lillard on this all first round team because his team didn't advance. So that's why you see Luka at the end there, but depending on who wins this Game 7, I think it's going to be either Luka or Kawhi. And I'm going to give Devin Booker, that slot there instead of Donovan Mitchell, just given his performance in the first round and how they knocked off the Lakers.
You know what? And I don't disagree with that. It was hard for me to leave Booker off the list. And here's why I went with Luka over Kawhi, Cass, because for the simple fact that Luka is doing more and working with less, right? Porzingis has been a no-show. I mean, he's out there with Tim Hardaway Jr. Look, don't get me wrong, he's elevated his game, but Luka is out there doing it, and he really don't have a Robin right now. When you look at Kawhi, right? Kawhi has PG. When you look at Devin Booker has Chris Paul. When you look at KD, he had James Harden and Kyrie Irving. Jokic, he's another one kind of flirting, but Michael Porter Jr. elevated his game. But I'm saying I agree with the Luka because you give him the nod over Kawhi because he's doing more with less talent.
I hear that. I just think the determining factor is going to be who wins this series, because I think that Kawhi, really put himself back in the conversation of being, top 3 player in the league. And I'll see, he can add to that tonight against that guy, Luka, in this Game 7. There's no bigger stage than a Game 7. So we'll see who can have the ultimate performance today in LA.
The season on the line, facing elimination or a chance to advance.
Look at how I be in tune with it. When everybody in the dome with it, I be going sonic boom with it. And I'm gone, and I'm back to the throne.
And Leonard is in 3 straight buckets. Turnover, back to Porzingis. Another iconic playoff performance from Leonard.
I was able to get a rhythm, and I started knocking down shots. And, at that point, I just started being aggressive. I did not want to go home.
It's time now for tonight's On the Road, brought to you by Hotels.com. Getting close to tip of the series for being on the road has been the best spot to be in. And we're joined now by Rachel Nichols, who is not only the host of the Jump weekdays on ESPN, but working sidelines today in LA, as we see here, there, courtside. And Rach, the Clippers have won 3 of the last 4 in this series. And on the heels of Kawhi's 45 in Game 6, what is the confidence level with the Clippers right now?
I think they feel as comfortable as you can when you get to host a Game 7, except you haven't won any of the games in your arena. That's not super confident, but at least you feel like you are set up for success as best as you can be. Kawhi Leonard, though, as you mentioned, played so well in Game 6. He is very confident. And you and I know, Cass, Kawhi is not like a big locker room speech, rah-rah guy, but he has been talking to his teammates a little more one-on-one this season, I'm told. And his message to them before this game was that there is not time for indecision when you get to a Game 7. You have to know what you're going to do, go out there, shoot with confidence, and have faith that that ball is going to go in. If you're not like that, he said, you can get frozen. So the idea is that he is trying to help out some of his teammates who haven't been in this situation. The Clippers do have a lot more Game 7 experience, though. He has 5 games, 5 Game 7s. Rajon Rondo has been in 7 Game 7s over his career. Over on the Mavericks side, the only player who has played in a Game 7 was Josh Richardson, and he only played about 40 minutes combined over 2 separate Game 7s. So nobody on that team who is starting has a huge wealth of experience to draw on, but they're still confident as well. Luka says, I've got belief. And as he pointed out, they've won here plenty, so he's going in with a good attitude too.
Interesting note about Kawhi having those private conversations. We know he's going to lead by example. He not only put on a show offensively, but showed why he's one of the best two-way players in the game, Rach, taking on a defensive matchup against Luka. Doncic shooting just 30% with Kawhi as his defender versus 50% with anyone else. What are the Mavs looking to do to get others like Porzingis involved more in the offense today?
Yeah, I mean, it's been really fascinating to watch how Rick Carl is using Kristaps Porzingis. When I asked KP what he has learned about himself during this series, he said, I've learned to be patient. And there's a good reason for that, because the Mavs are basically using him for floor spacing, or to use not as kind a term, as a decoy in a lot of situations. He would obviously like to be more involved. He's talked to the coaching staff about it, but he has also had a really good attitude. Rick Carlisle has told us several times that KP has been willing to do whatever he has been asked. There has been a little push and pull with him and the coaching staff before, but that is not happening during this series. His attitude has been fantastic, they say. So we will see if they make a strategy shift and involve him a little bit more from more places, especially since, as we know, he's the original unicorn, as dubbed by Kevin Durant. He can shoot from outside the arc. We'll have to see if he does more of that today.
Well, a guy who's used to criticism in the playoffs is Paul George. I know you have some insight into his mindset heading into this Game 7. What can you share with us?
Yeah, it's so interesting, right? Because in the bubble last year, Paul was very open, and I really applaud this, that he was really open about the fact that it was hard for a lot of guys to only be surrounded by basketball all the time. It meant that any mistake you made in any game, there's no getting away from it. There's no just going home and having a change of scenery and having your little kids, in Paul's case, crawl all over him. There was none of that. It was just basketball, basketball, turn on the TV when you got back to the hotel room, basketball, open your phone, basketball, basketball. And this time, this series, outside of the bubble, he has been able to stay much more even. Ty Lue told me just this morning, Paul George is in a great place mentally. He has been locked in. He's comfortable. Nothing seems to be bothering him. And in fact, in Game 6, they were trying to take him out at one point for just usual rotations. And he told them, I want to stay in the game. He is locked in, and it is really different from last season. We'll have to see if that continues from Game 7.
A perfect way to spend your Sunday afternoon with Rach and the crew for Game 7. She'll be on the sideline, start at 3:30 Eastern on ABC from a rocking and very loud Staples Center. Thank you so much, Rach, for joining us on Hoop Street.
Thanks so much, Cassidy. It was great.
Music is blaring, I assume, trying to get both teams fully amped. And look who we see there. Dirk Nowitzki in the house. Of course, cheer on his Mavericks. 12:30 start there in LA. You know, the Clippers have not been great in these afternoon contests, so we will see who comes out ready to battle today. A guy who's always ready for a good show is our reporter, Om Youngmasuk, who joins us live from outside of Staples Center. Om, it's so great to see you. Before we get more into the Mavs and Clippers matchup, hey, Perk, we got to go around the NBA and see what's going on. And to start off, the Hawks have been putting a beat down on the Sixers. I'm not sure how much you've been paying attention to what's been going on, but pregame, Joel Embiid, we got the news that he was going to get the start despite having a small lateral MCL tear, and he also rang the bell. Did you guys see this? With Triple H, he was going crazy. He said, I'm not going to talk any junk, but I will just go full ham pregame. And, he came out looking healthy-ish, but not as on fire as Trae Young, Perk. He is really establishing himself as a superstar in these playoffs.
Absolutely. Look, hey, Cassidy, this is what he lived for, all right? Look, I always say I want to test a person's character or a player character to wonder if they heart pump Kool-Aid. Well, his heart is pumping hot sauce, Louisiana style. You have to remember, Trae Young was one of the most, after Zion Williamson, he was one of the biggest stars in college. He's used to this attention. He embraces these bright lights. And I said this Atlanta Hawks team is dangerous, led by Trae Young. He's a superstar in the making. I just want to be a fly in the wall in that locker room and hear what they're saying amongst each other, because their goals, the way that they're playing on both ends of the floor, has to be extremely high. They have plans on shocking the world. I don't know to what level, but right now they are a fun and exciting team to watch.
Trae Young has 35, Joel has 30. The Hawks currently are up 116-104. That's on ABC as we speak. But what are your impressions so far of this Hawks team? Of course, you watched the series against the Knicks. What are your takeaways so far, and what do you think of Atlanta's chances?
Look, I was really curious to see how Trae Young was going to do after Madison Square Garden. It's one thing for stars to rise to a superstar level on that stage at the Mecca. They all get hyped to play at Madison Square Garden, and Trae Young did something that only Michael Jordan had done, 30 points in 3 straight games. But now to follow it up in Game 1 against the Sixers, where the Sixers get a huge momentum boost by Joel Embiid playing, and to do this, I talked to one Sixers source yesterday, and I was like, you guys should be fine if Joel Embiid plays. And at the time, they didn't know if he was going to play or not. But they said, listen, with Joel Embiid, we are concerned about this Atlanta Hawks team. They are good. They're a much better shooting team than the Washington Wizards. And the Sixers knew that coming in. They knew they were going to have to be good defensively against these young guys, and they knew that they were going to be sound coaching-wise from Nate McMillan. And look, the Atlanta Hawks have shown that and more in this Game 1. I am surprised, just as surprised as anybody else, of what the Hawks are doing right now.
Yeah, and Atlanta needs to start removing that interim in front of head coach for Nate McMillan, because I don't know what they're waiting for. Maybe it's Nate who's waiting, but he's been doing a masterful job so far in these playoffs. Speaking of injuries, we had a big one last night in the Nets-Bucks game 1 of the second round. It started off with just a downer as James Harden re-injured his right hamstring, but as we see there, Giannis throwing it down. Despite Giannis's 34-11, 4 assists and 2 blocks, it really was the Nets able to regroup after the early Harden injury. That fancy pass that had everyone just looking the other way, from Kyrie to KD. It was a pretty impressive performance by the Nets, but I have to start with James Harden. And Perk, your reaction to his hamstring injury. We don't know the latest on whether or not he's going to play game 2. But what are the implications of this injury for the Nets?
Well, it's hard because the same injury to the same leg, and you have to be delicate when it comes down to those soft tissue injuries. So I don't know how long he's gonna be out. I hate it out because he was playing at an extremely high level in this postseason and the season, and he was really embracing this opportunity. But I don't expect him to come back this series. But look, the Nets, if Blake Griffin could step up like he did, because Kevin Durant and Kyrie Irving are going to be themselves. They're going to score points. But if Blake Griffin, Bruce Brown, the kid Mike James, if they could come in and provide, Joe Harris, if they could come in and do what they did last night on a consistent basis, the Nets are going to beat the Bucks. I don't know if Blake has it in him to average 19 and 14, but he was the common denominator last night in that game. But his intensity, his mindset, he affected the game in all areas, going 3 for 7 from 3-point range. So I'm looking at this Nets team. They got a lot of confidence right now, and it's on Milwaukee to bounce back, especially those Bulldogs.
Quickly, do you think the Pistons should feel some kind of way watching Blake Griffin perform at this level like he did last night?
Don't do that.
Yes. They should be asking, where was this Blake Griffin in Detroit? Where were all these dunks? Where was this diving on the floor for loose balls? Absolutely. Look, when James Harden went down, I texted one coach, and I was like, it looks like Milwaukee has got life in this series now. And this coach texted back to me, they still got enough in KD and Kyrie. Those two guys, offensively, they're two of the best one-on-one players we've seen in the history of the game. They have enough to get by Milwaukee. So if I'm the Nets, I am taking my time with James Harden, because James Harden is the guy that can get them the championship. You got to start thinking ahead, and I'm sure the Nets are. Make sure that James Harden does not come back too early enough, because you're going to need him in the next round if you get by Milwaukee.
And they don't even have Jeff Green either. But look, that series is going to be fun to watch. Another series that gets underway tomorrow. Perk, we got to keep it moving here because we got a lot to get into. Game 2 of the Bucks Nets is tomorrow, but also game 1 of the Nuggets and Suns. You were one of just 2 experts to pick the Nuggets to win this series. Why are you going with Denver?
The Joker. He's the MVP of the league. Listen, I've spent time with the Denver Nuggets. I've covered their playoffs the last 2 postseasons. I know better than to doubt Michael Malone and the Denver Nuggets. They always seem to go 7 games in a lot of these series, and every time somebody doubts them, I get it. There's no Jamal Murray, and they desperately need him in this series and his offensive scoring. But this is a tough, resilient team, and when you count them out, they always find a way to prove you wrong, especially Nikola Jokic. Now, Jokic has his hands full with DeAndre Ayton, who was unbelievable against the Lakers, but I am not going to go against the Joker. I've seen it too many times. He pulls it out in 7 games, so I picked the Nuggets in 7.
Burke, your response?
I have no response except for that the Denver Nuggets and Mike Malone, right? I'm looking at that Mike Malone right now, and I think he don't get enough appreciation, right? Because you look at Austin Rivers, who was signed on the 10-day before he was signed for the full season. And then Monte Morris, the way he's been playing, JaMychal Green, Michael Porter Jr. We know what Jokic is going to do. And then all of a sudden, Cassidy, you said the last time we was on here and I picked the Portland Trailblazers, you told me to watch out for Capazzo.
Yes, I sure
right?
did.
You told me.
Yes.
And look, what I'm noticing is that after game 4, I believe it was, or game 3, Mike Malone called his team out publicly. And they responded in great fashion to go on and win game 5 and game 6. To me, he's doing a hell of a job getting the best out of each player to go alongside of what Jokic is doing right now. This Denver Nuggets team is dangerous, but I still got Phoenix at 7.
Yeah, and also, someone told me that he prefers Michael Malone. Just wanted you to know that, Kurt. So hey, before we go home, all three of us earlier, Perk, Ramona, and me, we all picked the Clippers in this Game 7. Who's your pick for this final matchup between these two teams today?
Look, Cass, it would be the most Clipperish thing ever to lose the first 2 games at home, win games 3 and 4 in Dallas, lose game 5 at home, force a game 7 by winning in Dallas again, only to lose game 7. The Clippers always choose the path where they're going to find the most excruciating pain, right, in their history. But I'm going to go with the Clippers to win this game. Listen, historically, the last 2 years, they have not been good in these afternoon games. I think they're like 8-12 in these 12:30 starts, so that's problematic. But Kawhi Leonard is playing at a different level. And listen, Perk, I was listening to my favorite R&B group on my way here, Guy, okay? And I started thinking, Guy made great music until Aaron Hall and Teddy Riley started beefing. And the Clippers can make great music if they're on the same page today, okay? They cannot afford any dumb, boneheaded fouls, turnovers, or any hero ball outside of Kawhi. Guys can't take quick shots. They can't make bad offensive fouls, and they can't turn the ball over. If they're on the same page and they trust each other, they're going to make great music. If they don't, it's going to be like Game 7 meltdown again last year in the bubble.
I mean, I hope they're playing. I hope Ty Lue is playing this in the Clippers locker room to pump them up. That's a perfect way to find the gospel. Omi, we really appreciate you joining us. Now get inside Staples Center for this Game 7. Perk, I want you to hold on for a second, because before we say goodbye, you know what? Dry and I here, we have to bid farewell to a beloved member of our family. Our girl Haley, who's been an OG producer for our show, is leaving ESPN, and this is her final show with us. She's not only a pro's pro, extremely talented and creative, but one of the very best people that we've ever worked with, Perk. So many exciting things coming her way. She's also going to be a bride soon, a beautiful bride. We couldn't be any happier for all the amazing things in her life, but we are really going to miss her, Perk.
We are. And look, one of the hardest workers, didn't shortcut anything. She did so much to the Hoop Strings family, what she brought. We're going to miss Haley, but look, wherever she goes, she is going to shine bright, because she's one of the best to ever do it. Haley, good luck to you. We appreciate you from the Hoop Strings family. We really do. From Big Perk and Cassidy and Home and Hotels.com. Everybody, we appreciate you, Haley.
Exactly. Yeah, don't be a stranger, Haley. We love you. We love you. Don't make me cry. I think it's the perfect time for us to say goodbye, because I'm getting emotional in here. Thanks for watching Hoop Streams presented by Hotels.com. We'll leave you with a word from Vince Carter and Hotels.com.
Can't go wrong with Hotels.com, the official travel partner of the NBA.